Hey guys, welcome to Reporter Room. I just wanted to hop on really quick and let you know that Leilani Simon has been arrested. She is the only one that has been arrested. And let me share with you what I know so far. She was charged with murder, and according to the police department, Leilani Simon was arrested and charged with murder. She was taken into custody today, Monday, November 21st, and will be held in the Chatham County Jail while she awaits a bond hearing. So we'll have to see if she's going to get bail or not. She reported little Quinton, who was only 20 months old, missing on October the 5th. And this is really interesting, law enforcement says that it does not predict having any other arrests in this case. So, hi, Soul Jules. Hi, Karen Hall. Hi, Donna. Hi, Donna Rinky. Hi, Rianne. Hi, Jessica Wolfblood. Hi, DC. It's so great. No, Rianne says she doesn't deserve bail. I agree. I think she does not deserve bail. I'm sorry I'm not on camera today, but I'm sitting here in my pajamas. I was getting ready to decorate my Christmas tree for Thanksgiving. And I saw this and wanted to hop on right away and let you guys know that Leilani Simon was arrested. So I'm going to read you from WSB in Atlanta. It says that the Chatham County Police Department arrested the mother of missing Georgia toddler, Quinton Simon, who is presumed to be dead. Quinton Simon vanished from his Savannah area home on October the 5th, and police later determined that little Quinton was likely put into a dumpster and taken to a nearby landfill. Law enforcement announced that they suspected that his mother, 22-year-old Leilani Simon, in what happened to him, and I'm watching my words here, they have still not recovered Quinton. And on Monday, the Chatham County Police also announced that they arrested Leilani Simon, charged her with murder in connection to what happened to Quinton. She was taken to the Chatham County Detention Center where she will be held until she gets a bond hearing. We are also told that police say they do not anticipate any other arrests in this case. And the police posted on Twitter, quote, "We are deeply saddened by this case, but we are thankful that we are one step closer to justice for little Quinton." We don't know what led up to the charges against Leilani or why they waited a month, but something must have happened, and they're going to hold a press conference to tell us more information. So, very, very interesting turn of events. Very, very interesting. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. Rhiannon says they must have had proof that it was Quinton. Yes, I agree, Rhiannon. I think that they had to have had proof that it was Quinton. They must something happened. Something broke. Thank you, Jessica. You too. B. Rando says, yes, finally, maybe she will talk and tell us where he really is. Yes, I hope so too. Stitch says, it's about time, and may Quinton rest in peace. I agree. Ozgal says, DC, let me find her name. Breathless is here. Hey, I just saw this 100%. Yes, I know. I'm like so happy. So here's what we know. Olin wants to know. So let me just re-update you guys. This is all we know so far. We know she was arrested today. We don't know what precipitated this, but we know that it wasn't that they found Quinton. But let me just read it to you. Let me grab it real quick, y'all. So we know that they were searching the landfill. They've been searching the landfill ever since Quinton went missing from Savannah, Georgia on October 5th. We're not 100% sure what the evidence was that brought them to the landfill, but we suspected they had some kind of video of Leilani throwing something away, and that's what made them go to the landfill. And we know that they named Leilani as their prime suspect and their only suspect. And we also know that Billie Jo Howell, Leilani's mother, said that Leilani did it, but that she didn't have any memory of it. So I think that's really interesting. So what if the Chatham County told us so far? The Chatham County Police Department arrested Leilani for what happened to Quinton. According to the police, 22-year-old Leilani has been arrested and charged with murder. She was taken into custody today, November 21st, and she will be held at the Chatham County Jail while she awaits bond hearing. So we'll have to see if the judge decides to grant her bail or not. She reported Quinton missing on October the 5th, and she has done everything she can to dirty up everyone else, right? She blamed Danny Youngkin. They tried to throw shade on him, saying he was the last one to put Quinton to bed. She tried to blame Bubba, who is Quinton's biological dad. She told police that he must have done it, even though he had a rock solid alibi. Police got him on a video camera leaving his own home, which was nowhere near where Leilani lived. Then she tried to say that a stranger must have abducted him because they wanted a baby of their own. But this is the really interesting part, guys. The police department say it does not anticipate any other arrests in connection with this case. So what do you guys think? Breathless says, Quinton is in the arms of angels. I know exactly where he is. And Karen says, thank you, Jessica. Best news. Happy Thanksgiving to you and all your viewers. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Karen. Rianne says, that does not apply. I got a gut that he is in the water. That's interesting, Rianne. We'll see if maybe now that she's in custody, if she will talk. Caitlin said, now they need to get Billie Jo. She is at fault. I don't know if she had anything to do with it, Kay. So I don't know if charges will be brought against her. What she did try to do, in my opinion, is muddy up the waters, right? She tried to muddy up the waters and distract. Freckles says that, more will come out. I think so. And I'll be on the lookout and bring it to you when it does. And DC says that both Billie Jo's kids, because she has another son in jail, doesn't she? Yeah. Anna D says, the GMA said on the live yesterday that they have asked the police to carry Quinton to his family resting place. So she believes that the remains have been found. They did not tell us that. So that would be speculation, but I hope and pray you are right, Anna D. I sincerely hope so. So what do you guys think? Get mainly Grandma Billie Jo. Yeah, I wish I kept waiting for Billie Jo to do the right thing. Mace Window says, I hope law enforcement has solid proof to hold Leilani. Would be a shame to see her walk. Yeah, we all saw that in the Casey Anthony case, right? And I've continued to draw parallels to the Casey Anthony case because I do feel like it's really hard for juries to look at a beautiful young 20-something-year-old mother like Susan Smith or Casey Anthony, who was found not guilty, or Leilani Simon, and find them guilty, because it's hard to process what we think a monster is. And then you look at these young lovely, petite young women, and you just cannot believe that they could do something like this. But so I hope the jury can see the truth. And, Leilani is innocent until proven guilty. She does deserve her day in court. But you guys know how I feel about this. And Barbara wants to know, when did Billie Jo say that? I'm not really sure. If you're asking when did Billie Jo said that Leilani told her that she did it and that she didn't have any memory of it. And so we had assumed at this time that this came from Leilani when she posted this on Facebook. But what we're learning now is maybe it didn't come from Leilani. Maybe it came from law enforcement. Mace Window is thinking of Barry Morphew as well. Yeah, that's they started and then stopped. Rita's praying for justice for little Quinton. DC says, I think I have empathy for Billie Jo, but she still left him with someone that was not supposed to be with him. Yeah, I feel badly for everyone who loved Quinton. I just didn't care for the way Billie Jo, in my opinion, tried to go out and muddy the waters. And I feel like I wish she would have come forward and really advocated for this little baby. Breathlessness says selfishness. Yeah, we don't know what happened yet. And Rian says they still have not found Suzanne Morphew. And that's such a great point. I think, and remember with Kaylee, in the Casey Anthony case, it took law enforcement 4 months to find Kaylee. 4 months. It didn't happen right away. And let me grab that one. Oh, trying to grab your comments as fast as they're flying by. Jessica says, he is with all the angels and with our creator. He is a baby. Of course, he is with the angels. Anna D says, yesterday on another channel's live, Billie Jo commented in the chat. Thanks, Anna, for that. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. And Ozgal69 says, Rian, I want Barry Morphew arrested so much. And Jakey is here. Hey, Jakey. Oh, thank goodness. I know. I think so, too. Thank goodness. So let me grab something for you, a package. Yeah, it's really sad. I just, but we've seen this before, right?
You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call.
I would like to say to whoever has my children,
let me add this.
that they please.
We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house.
To us where they belong.
Maybe they thought they were his savior. Happy and alive. We want him back in our arms.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. My name is Jessica Della Davies, and today we're going to be talking about the Quinton Simon case. Let's get into it. So anyway, we've always thought that there was like parallels between the fake crying that we saw from Susan Smith and also the Leilani Billie Jo interview that they did on Fox, where we, saw them trying to squeeze out a tear, and that there was, parallels between Susan Smith and also to what happened. So anyway, I think it's really sad that it ended this way, but I'm so relieved that she was arrested. I'm so relieved. So for those of you just joining us, let me just update you. So the mother, Leilani Simon, of missing Quinton Simon, was arrested for the death of Quinton Simon. According to police, 22-year-old Leilani was arrested and charged with murder. She was taken into custody today, November 21st, and she will be held at the Chatham County Jail while they decide during her bond hearing if she is going to be granted bond or if she will remain in prison without bond. And this is the very interesting part. Police state that it, quote, they said they do not, quote, they do not anticipate any other arrests in connection with this case. So I think that's very, very interesting, that they don't anticipate anything. So they seems like they believe she acted alone. They don't think that she had help. Police have said that the odds of finding Quinton at this point are low. Maybe Leilani will want to say where he is. But they've been searching the landfill for Quinton, who supposedly disappeared from his Savannah home on October 5th. And they said on Twitter the other day, on last Wednesday, that the likelihood of finding Quinton remains low, but they were going to keep searching. And Anna D has told us that she is hearing that maybe they do have him. I don't know. They haven't told us that if they do. Leilani called 911 on October 5th and reported that Quinton had gone missing from his playpen. And more than a week after searching for him, the Chatham County Sheriff, who is Sheriff Hadley, announced that they believed that Quinton was no longer with us and that Leilani was their primary suspect. So we know that we've had protesters out trying to make some kind of noise to bring justice. Rayanne says no more protesters now. Yeah, I think now that she's been arrested, they will probably disperse or move over to where the bond hearing is going to be. DC says Billie Jo was awarded custody of Zane and Quinton, but not Sky yet. Yet all three of the kids have been removed from Billie Jo's care. She doesn't have them now. Anna D says, no bond, please. And Mace Window says, fascinating. It implies that the evidence is specific to her. I agree, Mace. I think it's very, very interesting that they're saying that they don't believe that anybody else has done anything. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, if you guys could give me a thumbs up, it helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. And DC wonders where we can hear the 911 call. DC, they haven't released anything in regards to this 911 call. Nothing at all. So yeah, we don't know. They're holding everything very close to the chest. We may learn more at the bond hearing. So we'll have to see, because I think, they may give some more information as to why they don't want her released on bond or why they do want her released on bond. And now remember, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So Leilani does deserve her day in court. DC says the father of Zane was trying to get him out of, they said he was not able to get him still. Well, they were probably waiting to see, because she pointed the finger at him, they're probably waiting to see what happened. No, they have not said anything about finding him yet. Oh, wow. Thanks, Jakey. Says, have a drink on me. You know what, Jakey? Thank you so much. I'm actually going to put it toward editing and camera equipment, but thank you so much. I am I'm still drinking coffee. I know it's 5:00. I was working on a video for tomorrow, and then I saw this news break and wanted to bring it to you right away. So I hopped on. I also have a scheduled live stream tomorrow. And we'll be discussing this more because we'll have more information from the bond hearing. So if you want to join me, it's 5 p.m. Eastern time. Sandra says, Billie Jo does not and never had custody of the kids 100%. It was a family discussion with CPS. My understanding, Sandra, is she did have custody of Zane and Quinton, and then it was removed from her. So they were removed from her custody, and Sky was also removed out of the house. Aaron Hicks, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your intelligence with me also. I really appreciate it. So I want to know, do you guys have any questions? If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section below. Um, so do you think that she's going to be released on bond? Do you think she's going to get out on bond, or do you think that um, Brianna's thinking that Sky may go to her grandma? That would be great. I hope so. I hope so. That would just be great, because the kids do belong. If they can keep the kids together and with family, that would be great. But if Zane and Quinton go with their father's families respectively, that would be okay too. And Quinton's biological dad, Bubba, has been through heck. He, besides losing Quinton, he also lost his own father, which was Quinton's grandfather. So Bubba's dad was um, hurt in a hit and run crash a couple of weeks ago, and he was struck while he was trying to change a flat tire about 80 miles northwest of Savannah. And he had gotten out of his car trying to change a tire, and then um, sadly he was hit and struck. So Bubba's been through a lot. Bubba has been falsely accused of doing something to Quinton. Leilani named him and blamed him um, for doing something to Quinton. And so anyway, let me look and see. I'm seeing in the chat that they're thinking that Leilani's going to have bond. I don't know. I'm looking right now to see if there's anything posted on that. And I don't see anything, but hold on, let me. News Nation, this is the latest from them. They are not saying anything about bond, just that she will get a bond hearing. But there's no bond at this time that I'm able to see. So I'm not able to independently confirm that. So the New York Post is running with it now, and they are saying that this is from the New York Post, guys. The mother of Quinton Simon, the 20-month-old Georgia boy who vanished last month, has been charged with murder and the disappearance, police announced today, Monday. Police say, quote, the Chatham County Police tweeted, "We are deeply saddened by this case, but we are thankful that we are one step closer to justice for little Quinton in announcing the arrest of Leilani Simon." Leilani is only 22 years old, and this case has reminded all of us of the Susan Smith case. She was found guilty, and the Casey Anthony case, Casey Anthony was found not guilty. The Chatham County Police Department had previously announced that their belief that Quinton was no longer with us. They also confirmed that Leilani was their primary suspect. Leilani first reported Quinton missing at 9 a.m. the morning of October the 6th. He was reportedly last seen at the Savannah home that she shared with Danny Youngkin, who was her boyfriend, and the father of her youngest child, Sky, her 3-year-old son. So since that time, millions of people, including all of you guys, have followed Quinton's case and have been awaiting answers. The 911 call came in a few hours after Leilani or Danny Youngkin, somebody texted Diana, the babysitter, to cancel their plans, saying that Leilani would watch him. And I believe that text came in from Danny Youngkin's phone, but we don't know who sent it. And Diana had said, quote, "I got a text this morning saying they would not be here, would not be babysitting them at 5:29 a.m., which is kind of odd because I have them even when she doesn't work." And she's talking about Leilani. So the investigation into Quinton's disappearance quickly became criminal shortly after Leilani Simon shortly after Leilani Simon's mother told police that she did not trust her daughter. So Billie Jo did initially start out advocating for Quinton, and I don't know why she didn't stay on that course. And Billie Jo had also said in an interview, quote, talking about Leilani, quote, she hasn't always done the right thing, end quote. So we know that law enforcement brought search dogs into the home of Billie Jo Howell, where Leilani, Quinton, Danny Youngkin, and the other children were staying. They searched the interior as well as the pool. They even drained the pool. They searched the nearby pond. They got the FBI involved, and then they began searching the landfill. So I think that's very interesting. So let's see what you guys are saying. Gladys wants to know, will Billie Jo get custody of the other two kids since Leilani was arrested? My understanding, Gladys, is that the other two kids have already been removed from the house. So that would be a no. She will not get custody unless somehow she's granted custody after the fact, which I find unlikely because Billie Jo had custody of Quinton and Zane when this occurred. And Leilani was not supposed to be left alone with the kids. Leilani was not supposed to be left alone with Quinton or Zane. Leilani still had custody of Sky. So how did this kind of bubble up and overflow? Well, we know there was tensions going on in the home because Billie Jo had gone to court and filed an eviction notice against Leilani Simon, right? We know she filed an eviction notice. So I'm not really sure why they wouldn't just move out and why she had to actually file an eviction notice. But they did have to file an eviction notice. And so anyway, that probably escalated the tensions that were going on in the household, right? Because apparently a lot of people have asked, like, why did Danny Youngkin leave? Well, he probably left because he got an eviction notice with Leilani. Now, Leilani was obviously allowed to stay after Quinton left. The other thing that I think kind of set a horrible cascade of events into it, besides the eviction notice, was also Billie Jo went to court and won a judgment against Leilani for child support. So now Leilani was going to have to pay child support on Zane and Quinton. Now, I'm not saying this was a motive, but what I am saying is that it would have escalated the tensions that were going on in that house. So Billie Jo decided to go out of town. She went out of town, and she wasn't supposed to leave Quinton and Zane in Leilani's care. And this is why I do not think Billie Jo will most likely get custody of the kids back. And she did arrange, though, to have a babysitter, and that was Diana, the babysitter, Diana McCarta, to watch all three kids, but specifically Quinton and Zane were supposed to go to the babysitters. And on the day that Quinton disappeared, Diana received a text from Danny Youngkin's phone. Now, we don't know who sent the text at 5:29 a.m., according to her statement, that said that Leilani was going to be watching the kids that day. And she found it bizarre because she said that normally she would have still watched the kids. Diana, the babysitter, still would have watched the kids, even if Leilani had the day off. The kids still would have gone to Diana McCarta's house to be babysat. So we don't know. This is a great question, Judy. We don't know where Leilani was arrested. I'm assuming it would have been at her house. And Diana says they must have evidence that M was committed and not an accident. Thank you for watching your words. And yes, I agree. I think that we don't know what it is. So we are unclear as to whether they have found Quinton or not. But something had to have shifted. There was definitely a shift in the case. And we know law enforcement has held everything very close to their chest. We have not heard the 911 call yet from Leilani Simon. We have not heard any kind of information from them at all that would in any way jeopardize the case that they've been building. So you're right. They must have some kind of evidence, Anna. And Jessica Wolfblood says she's, oh, I got a feeling. Oh, thank you. That wasn't the comment I was trying to grab, but that's okay. I'll take it. Brienne says Danny was probably glad to leave as all this with Quinton, and he was probably a bit nervous that the police may arrest him, as it's normally people that know them. Yeah, I think so. Brienne also says that she thinks there may have been clothing. Sandra wants to know, did I hear or did you prove Billie Jo had custody? Billie Jo's custody of Zane and Quinton were both revoked. They were both removed from the house, but my understanding is that Billie Jo initially had custody of Zane and Quinton. She did not have custody of Sky. Leilani retained custody of Sky. And the kids were not supposed to be left in Leilani's care, but they were. They were left in Leilani's care. And they were supposed to go that day to the babysitter, Diana, the babysitter's house. However, that is not what happened. A text came from Danny Youngkin's phone, and we don't know who sent the text, if it was Danny himself or if it was Leilani using his phone, and told her at 5:29 a.m. that Leilani was going to be watching the kids. And we know that Danny Youngkin went to work, and that day he was 17 minutes late, and a lot has been made of that, but he was ruled out. And I just want to say that Leilani is innocent until proven guilty, but he was ruled out. And Rianne says it's like the Welsh children, they will never go back home. I agree. I think it's unlikely that the kids will be returned back to Dawn and Candace. I can't say with 100% certainty. But let's see. Station, I just heard Billie Jo took her to the police station and turned her in. That's really common. If they don't think that someone's going to flee, and they don't want to do like a perp walk, and we know there were protesters at the house, so it may be that they decided that the best way to handle it would be to allow her to turn herself in. And so maybe that, Billie Jo put her in the car and drove her to the police station, and law enforcement allowed her to turn herself in. We don't know because law enforcement hasn't told us that yet. Aaron Hicks says the group of protesters are supposedly on their way to Tennessee now. Sorry, off topic, guys. Oh, thanks for that, Aaron. And so anyway, yeah, we don't know what the situation was of how she was arrested. We haven't found that out. Law enforcement has not told us yet. We do know, and I'll just do a brief recap of what's going on for those of you who are just joining us. We do know that Leilani Simon, who is the mother of Quinton Simon, was arrested today by the Chatham County Sheriff's Office. She was taken into custody today, Monday, November 21st. She will be held at the Chatham County Jail while she waits for her bond hearing. Police also said, and I think this is very significant, that they do not, quote, anticipate any other arrests in connection with this case. And Leilani reported Quinton missing on, it says here, October 5th. So they are not anticipating any other arrests. So I think they feel like she acted alone. We don't know what precipitated the arrest in this case. But this, according to a News Nation affiliate, WSAV, in mid-October, investigators said that they had evidence, quote, that the child was, and I no longer with us. I'm just watching my words here. So that's not an exact quote. And his mother was the only suspect. So she's always been the one and only suspect in this case. It sounds like they never thought that she acted in tandem with somebody else. So we know that Quinton's grandma, Billie Jo, had custody of him at the time. and that Quinton disappeared from inside Billie Jo's house. Now, they have tried to muddy the waters a little bit. They tried to dirty up Danny Youngkin by saying that he was the one that put the kids to bed that night. Therefore, he was the last one to see the kids. They tried to, Leilani, my understanding is she told police that Bubba Moss did it, and Bubba was nowhere near, and law enforcement was able to rule him out. They had him on video camera leaving for work that morning, many miles away, and also were able to determine that he was at work. But she tried to blame Bubba Moss. And first she said he wandered away. Then she tried to blame Danny Youngkin. Then she tried to blame Bubba Moss. And now the latest one, when she got on Fox News with Billie Jo, was they tried to say that, you know, somebody that just really wanted to have a baby must have come in and just taken the baby. But we know that's not the case. So let me just share one other thing. This is an article that came out right after Quinton was reported missing. It came out the second week. So it was about a week after Quinton vanished from his home. And police then told the press that they had new evidence that they believed would help them move the case forward. And this may be why, after emptying the pool and searching the pond, that they went on to go ahead and move on to the landfill. And what I suspect, we heard that they were knocking on doors at the mobile home park, which was nearby, where there was 5 dumpsters there. If you're not familiar with this case, I have a whole playlist you guys can check out that will keep you up to date, because I do think this case is going to be ongoing. And so what Leilani's initial statement was that the dispatch says, and that we haven't heard her 911 call. We only have the dispatch, and the dispatch is heard saying, quote, "She woke up, her door was open, advised he's unable to open the door, thinks someone came in and took him." So that was her initial statement to police. And by her, I'm talking about Leilani Simon. So I'm very curious of what you guys think about this. DC Primetime is asking me, did she turn herself in? My understanding, we don't have any confirmation. So this is speculation. This is rumor. But what I've heard is that she was allowed to surrender herself and that Billie Jo drove her in. Let's see. And London, UK 70s. Well, Billie Jo knew all along. Yeah, Billie Jo posted on Facebook at the time that she posted on Facebook at the time that Leilani had told her that she did it. Now, or I'm sorry, that's not correct. Billie Jo posted at the time that Leilani did it, but had no memory of it. And at the time, we were assuming that Leilani had admitted this to Billie Jo. But what may have happened, and we don't know because law enforcement has kept everything very close to the chest, what may have happened is it may be that law enforcement told that to Billie Jo, that Leilani did it, and then Leilani said she didn't have any memory of it. And I'm not really buying that. But, you know, Leilani is innocent until proven guilty. She deserves her day in court. And I've drawn a lot of comparisons in videos between Leilani Simon and Casey Anthony. Casey Anthony was found not guilty, and Susan Smith. And Susan Smith was found guilty. For those of you who are not familiar with the Susan Smith case, she had 2 little boys, and she claimed that she had been carjacked, and she blamed it on a black man because, of course, just imagine if some guy had gotten arrested for that. But the truth was, and the law enforcement got Susan Smith to admit this later, the truth was that she had driven her boys into the lake in the car, gotten out, and watched them go under. And so Susan Smith did admit it, and she was found guilty. And Casey Anthony never admitted it. She blamed it on Zenaida Gonzalez, who is a nanny that never existed. There was actually an innocent woman named Zenaida Gonzalez that was harangued and just had a terrible time, was harassed and had threats made against her, all because of Casey Anthony lying. But Casey Anthony got off. She was not found not guilty, and she's going to be doing an interview with Peacock. And if you're going to watch it, or if you want to hear what Casey Anthony is going to say, I definitely will bring you more information on it. So Brenda Mayer is asking, why wasn't Grandma arrested? She was to protect the baby from his mom, and she left him with his mom and went away. She failed to protect him. That's a great question. May says, yes, we can be scary, right? Just terrible. So that was really, I think a lot was made about that. And just imagine if somebody had been rounded up and arrested for that. But then we're talking about Susan Smith. And DC is saying that Leilani Smith, her phone pinged at the dumpster. I don't know about that. I haven't heard anything, but that would be a very strong possibility. That would be a very strong possibility. And Mary Jane says, yes, lying about a child and then blaming it on a minority. That's what both of them did, both Susan Smith and Casey Anthony. Now, Leilani didn't try to blame it on, I think she tried to throw some shade at Diana, but Diana, was probably the one caregiver in Quinton's life who really, truly loved him, in my opinion. And then she went on to try to blame Quinton's biological father, who was nowhere near and was ruled out immediately. And that was Bubba Moss, who had nothing to do with it. But she said she did tell the law enforcement that he did it, that he must have done it. Then she tried to dirty up Danny Youngkin, just throwing shade, saying that, he had put the kids to bed that night and, just throwing a little bit of shade around, trying to muddy up the waters. So I guess my big question is, do you guys think that in this day and age that juries will be able to reconcile the fact that a pretty young woman, a pretty young mother, petite, just like Susan Smith and Casey Anthony, can they do this to their children? Because in Casey Anthony's case, she was found not guilty. In Susan Smith's case, she admitted to doing it and was found guilty and is still in jail to this day. Put a 1 in the chat if you think the jury will have learned and will know that just because you're young and beautiful doesn't mean you can't do something despicable to your children. And put a 2 in the chat if you think that juries, or there still is this bias in the jury pool, if you think that they won't be able to reconcile the fact that a pretty young mother could do this to her own child. Let's see what we got here. We've got 1s. Y'all are coming in strong with the 1s. I don't see any 2. So it sounds like people are feeling like they have learned from this case. Pam Davison is worried they haven't learned. And DC says these days they have. Sandra says that Quinton's grandmother loves him dearly. She paid for the child care. Yes, she did. She did pay for the child care. She absolutely did. She paid for Diana and arranged to have him watched. Both him and Zane were supposed to be in the care of Diana McCarta that day. So what happened, we don't know. But for those of you who are just joining us, let me just read you out the latest statement. And I'm also checking to see if we have any more news. This just came out from the Daily Beast. It's the latest article that I can see. It says that the mother of Quinton Simon, the Georgia toddler whose disappearance last month roiled a community and sparked a search in a landfill, has been charged in connection with his murder, police said on Monday. So for those of you who are just joining me, Leilani Simon, Quinton's mom, who is just 22 years old, was arrested today and charged in connection with the disappearance of 20-month-old Quinton. The arrest comes more than a month after Leilani reported Quinton's disappearance on October 5th, spurring a sprawling investigation that drew national headlines. And we know this went all around the country. Okay, in a statement, the Chatham County Police Department indicated that Leilani was currently being held at the Chatham County Detention Center, that she will be receiving a bond hearing. And they said, the police department said, quote, "We are deeply saddened by this case, but we are thankful that we are one step closer to justice for little Quinton." The statement continued, adding that more details would be released soon. So this is a developing story. So I will continue to bring you updates on this case as we get them. Those of you that have been with me for a while know I've been covering this case very, very heavily. There's another one. Let's see. London, UK 70 says, "I've watched thousands of trials, not always correct convictions." Nope. And she is due her day in court. She is innocent until proven guilty. Mary Jane wants to know, do they have Quinton? Mary Jane, we do not know. They have not told us that they have him or don't have him. Anna D says, "Justice for Quinton." I agree. Case Sloan put up a 1 in the chat. John Taylor said, "I bet she's going off like a frog in a sock." Wow, I've never heard that statement before, but very, very interesting. Yeah, I think, and DC says it's Georgia, not Florida, so there's hope. Yeah, Casey Anthony was from Florida, and she got off. She got a good lawyer, Jose Baez, and she was found not guilty by the jury. And in contrast, Susan Smith did admit what happened. Law enforcement continued they didn't buy her story. She was on camera also trying to squeeze out tears that just weren't there, but she was sniffling and but her affect seemed off to law enforcement, and they picked up on it right away. They didn't think it added up. And she did admit it when she was interviewed further by law enforcement. She did admit what she did to her 2 little boys. And, sadly, it's really hard for juries to reconcile lovely young moms with, these kind of crimes. Nobody wants to believe that, one, that any mother could do this, but 2, that a young, beautiful mother could do this. And again, she is innocent until proven guilty. She is due her day in court. I'm just looking for any updates to see if we have any other information. ABC News is coming out. Let's see what they have to say. ABC News is reporting that, quote, "The mother of a toddler reported missing October 5th in Georgia has been arrested in connection with the child's disappearance and presumed dead," authorities said Monday. The Chatham County Police Department posted on Twitter, said officers had arrested Leilani Simon, who is 22 years old, on the charge of murder involving 20-month-old Quinton Simon. The notice said that Leilani was transported to the Chatham County Detention Center, where she will await a bond hearing. Leilani has not listed any specific phone number. It was not known Monday, that's today, if she had a lawyer who could speak on her behalf. Court records show she represented herself in 2 civil cases filed since March involving the custody of her children and child support. And that is probably the eviction notice. And we also know that custody was awarded to Billie Jo, and then Billie Jo also filed to get child support from Leilani. And my understanding in the child support case was Leilani didn't even show up. So I just want to clarify that, because I don't think she showed up and Billie Jo won by default. But I do believe that this was a chain of events, that this launched a lot of stress and tension into the home. ABC News is also reporting that the Chatham County Police Department say, quote, "We do not anticipate any other arrests in connection with this case," end quote. ABC News also says the police department says it will release further details later today at a news conference. So we are looking for that. And law enforcement said, quote, "We are deeply saddened by this case, but we are thankful that we are one step closer to justice for little Quinton." Meanwhile, law enforcement do say, oh, this is new. Okay, we didn't have this before. Law enforcement have said they will continue to search in the landfill for Quinton. So according to ABC News, it doesn't sound like they have him. So they were not able to find him. Rianne said it all depends on what game the prosecutor plays. Yeah, we don't know. I imagine with all of the publicity from this, and I have not seen any statements from Quinton's dad. Quinton's biological dad, for those of you that don't know, is Bubba Moss. He lost his own father, that would have been Quinton's grandfather, just a couple of weeks ago. He was hit when he was changing the tire on the side of his car. So Bubba's been through a lot. He was accused falsely by Leilani, even though he was nowhere in the area and was on camera at the time when he would have been miles away from anywhere to do with Quinton. But he had to go through all of that. My understanding is that the family is trying to seek custody of him, of not Quinton, but Zane's family is trying to seek custody of Zane. Brenda is asking, I don't understand why grandma just didn't allow authorities to take the kids into care because mom and grandma both let the kids down. So what Billie Jo did, Billie Jo had custody of Zane and Quinton, and Leilani retained custody of Sky. We do not know if Leilani was supposed to be in Billie Jo and Tommy Howell's household or not. If we don't know if CPS were aware that she was in the house with Danny Youngkin. We just don't know that. Law enforcement hasn't released that information yet. But when I have it, I will absolutely bring it to you. So Billie Jo did take a job out of town, and I understand that because everybody has to work. And I initially, like a lot of you, had a lot of empathy for Billie Jo because she did lose Quinton. But the more that I saw her not stepping up for Quinton, and instead she is advocating for Leilani and not Quinton, the more I just feel like I could no longer have sympathy for Billie Jo. And I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you feel like Billie Jo is another victim of Leilani, like Bubba Moss and Danny Youngkin? Because they definitely tried to throw some shade onto Danny Youngkin as well. But law enforcement's made it very clear that they only believe that Leilani was involved. Yeah, Rianne says we need the prosecutor who was in the court at the time Oster Pictorius was on trial. Let's see. Moonza Balloon One. Watching from the UK. It's being reported by the Daily Mail that he has not been found. Yes, that's what also has been reported here as well. That he has not been found, and that law enforcement, thank you for sharing that, law enforcement is continuing to search for him because obviously their case will be stronger if they have him, right? John Taylor says, this is wonderful news. Now just waiting for Dawn and Candace. Well, everyone's innocent until they are proven guilty. Sandra, I don't know what else to tell you. Unless you have proof otherwise she never had custody, I would not have that available to me personally. You are certainly entitled to your own opinion. We'll just have to agree to disagree on that one. But the behavior of Billie Jo did make me really question her integrity, her empathy, her care for Quinton. One, I don't think she should have left Quinton and Zane and taken a job out of town, but you know what? Everybody has to work. So, I did have empathy in that moment for her, and for a period of time, for probably a week or so. I had empathy for Billie Jo because everyone does have to work, and maybe she had no choice but to take a job and go work. She did have a lot of mouths to feed. In that household, living with her and Tommy, was her other son and his child, and Danny Youngkin and Leilani Simon, and the three children, Sky, Zane, and Quinton. So she had a lot of mouths to feed. But my sympathy ebbed away for her when, instead of advocating for Quinton, I kept asking and begging in prior videos for her to step up and do the right thing for Quinton, because Quinton needed an advocate at that time. Quinton deserved justice. Quinton deserved someone to come out and from the family. Instead, she got on camera in that bizarre Fox News article or news interview where, she couldn't even look at Leilani. So in my opinion, she knew. And then the optics of them going to this motel. Why did they go to a motel? In my opinion, they went to that motel in Georgia because they wanted to get away from any possible bugs in their house, any possible surveillance from law enforcement. So they went away, and they were then seen celebrating and flirting and having drinks. They ran up a $300 bar tab at Stingray's. And the optics of that, juxtaposed with law enforcement in hazmat suits, risking their health, searching for Quinton, were terrible. And I think a lot of us just did not have, and I'm going to just go ahead and, Sandra, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but you can step out of the chat. You're just disrupting other people who are trying to just genuinely have their say. And everybody has a right to have their say, but it's not okay to just, be disruptive to other people in the chat. So Olin wants to know, I wonder what will happen from here. Well, next, that's a great question. Next, what's coming next? So next, we're going to have the bond hearing. Law enforcement is going to have a press conference. So we'll get some more information on that. There will be a bond hearing. And they will decide if she gets out on bail. Now, if you remember, in the Casey Anthony case, she was in jail for a long time, and then she did get out on bond. So I don't want you guys to be upset if they do grant her bond. So let's just go through the timeline. On Wednesday, October 5th, Quinton was last seen around 6 a.m. in his playpen at his Buckhalter Road home. He was reported missing around 9 a.m. and law enforcement were contacted by Leilani Simon. The Chatham County Police mounted an investigation. They also included the FBI, the Liberty County Sheriff's Office K-9 team, and even a mosquito control helicopter all helped search for Quinton. On Thursday, October 6th, Police Chief, this is the Chatham County Police Chief, Jeff Hadley, held a press conference and shared that the police were no longer treating this as a missing persons investigation, that they did not believe that Quinton was with us. On Friday, October 7th, Chief Hadley provided another update on the case, and in court documents obtained by WJCL, it was learned that the grandparents are the ones who had custody of Quinton, and so legitimate sources are providing the information that Billie Jo did have custody of Quinton, and that the grandmother was trying to remove the child's mother, Leilani Simon, and Danny Youngkin from her home. And we know that they filed an eviction, Billie Jo filed an eviction notice, which probably did escalate the tensions in that household, right? On Saturday, October 8th, the Chatham County Police Department issued a statement saying that the search would continue, and they declined to have volunteers because they had FBI helping with their investigation. On Sunday, October 9th, the Chatham County Police Department issued a statement saying that they were recanvassing the specific areas in search of Quinton, and they established a tip line. On Monday, October 10th, Chief Hadley hosted a press conference and he provided more information. They were also emptying the pool in the backyard of Billie Jo Howell's house. And they, we know a 911 call exists, and it was formally requested by the media, but the request was denied due to the ongoing investigation. So on Tuesday, October the 11th, the Chatham County Police issued a statement saying they had seized evidence that they believed would lead to closure in this investigation. So that's very interesting. On Wednesday, October 12th, the Chatham County Police Department issued a statement which read, "Today marks 1 week since Quinton Simon was reported missing. We will be at his home where he was last seen with a team of search dogs and investigators. We will spend today gathering and analyzing evidence. We expect immediate briefing tomorrow." So then later in that same day, on October 12th, they issued a second statement saying, quote, "We are saddened to report that the Chatham County Police Department and the FBI have notified Quinton Simon's family that we believe he is no longer with us. We have named his mother, Leilani Simon, as the prime suspect in his disappearance and death, but no arrests have been made and no charges have been filed." Well, that all changed today, didn't it? On Thursday, October 13th, the Chatham County Police and FBI held a joint press conference. They said that their search led them to believe that Quinton was no longer with us, but they had not been able to find him yet. They continued to search for him. On the 14th of October, they announced that they would be suspending searches through Sunday. On the 18th of October, which was a Tuesday, they said, and this is the first time we learned, police and the FBI said that Quinton's remains were placed in a dumpster and taken to a nearby landfill. And now an exhaustive search began at the landfill in hopes of finding Quinton. On Wednesday, October 19th, they continued to search the landfill. And this is the day that Leilani Simon and Billie Jo Howell were spotted on Tybee Island at Stingrays, drinking shots and being, quote, flirty, end quote, with the waiter. On Friday, October 21st, they received additional money to aid in their search for Quinton, and they paused for the weekend due to citing health and safety hazards in the landfill. On Saturday, October 22nd, several protesters were arrested outside of the Simon family home. On Monday, October 24th, they resumed their search of the landfill, and Leilani appeared on an interview with Fox, and she said that she hoped her son would be found, quote, happy and alive, end quote, and that she's not hiding from law enforcement. Well, they have her now, don't they? On Wednesday, October 26th, the Chatham County Police Department issued a statement that the search was continuing. And they said, quote, "We are now 3 weeks into our search for Quinton Simon, and finding him remains the top priority for the Chatham County Police Department. We are committed to giving Quinton and the professional, detailed, thorough investigation he deserves." And they also went on to thank the FBI. On Friday, October 28th, they shared additional photos from their search, and they paused for the weekend. They resumed the search on Monday, October 31st, which was Halloween. Wednesday, November 2nd, was the 4-week mark since Quinton was last seen. They continued to search. Thursday, November 3rd, another protester was arrested. Thursday, November 10th, the landfill search had to be suspended due to the tropical storm Nicole. On Monday, November 14th, they released a statement. This is the Chatham County Police Department saying that as work resumes on the landfill search, there is no scheduled end date, but the search has been mentally, physically, and emotionally burdensome on the dozens of law enforcement professionals who were working to find Quinton's remains, end quote. On Friday, November 18th, Diana McCarta, who was Quinton Simon's babysitter, held a candlelight vigil in his honor. Again, I feel like Diana McCarta was the caregiver, the only caregiver in Quinton's life who truly loved him. This is just my opinion. On Sunday, November 20th, police announced that they were pausing the landfill search so they could take a break. And on Monday, November 21st, something happened. We don't know what, but Leilani was charged and arrested and is now in jail. So that is just a brief synopsis to catch everybody up if you don't know what's been going on with the case. I also have a whole playlist of videos if you want to watch them. Oh, she's talking to somebody else. I thought you were asking me. So Nurse Bev says, if I had to take custody of my grandchildren from their parents, they wouldn't be around them. I agree. And I think, I don't know what to say about that. I think that if I had to have custody of my grandchild, and I wouldn't want to have the child that they had been removed from the care in the house. And we don't know who knew if she was there. If the courts knew that Quinton and Zane were in the same home with Leilani Simon, or if they were not aware. But it's really sad. It's really sad because this all could have been prevented. And again, I think it was a cascade of events that led up to this. Rianne Evans says, oh, Quinton had a cheeky grin. He was such a beautiful little boy. And I don't know. I agree. He was just a beautiful baby. And he deserved so much better. And Nurse Bev points out that Quinton cried when he had to go home from Diana's. Yes, he did. He did. And Mace Window says, was not impressed with Billie Jo after her rant at the babysitter. Yeah, that was a big red flag for a lot of us, Mace. Great on you to bring that up. Because I think, that was another thing where we just saw more sympathy ebb away from Billie Jo. Because initially a lot of us felt like, well, everybody has to work. She did leave a babysitter in place, and we didn't know, who that Leilani hadn't been named at that point. But she went after Diana McCarta, and that was just, if you haven't seen the video on that, it was horrendous. Her behavior was horrendous, beyond the pale. And I agree. Rianne says, BHB took these to the police station for them to see. I don't know who BHB is. I'm not putting that together. B. Rando says court can only go by the information they're provided. Right, exactly. So if the court didn't know Leilani was in the household, there's nothing they can really do about that, right? They can't remove kids, if they don't know. Mary Jane says that Billie Jo gives me kind of a red flag, the way she couldn't even look at her daughter during that interview. I agree, Mary Jane. It was so crazy. Bullhorn Betty is who Rianne's talking about. Okay, let's go back. Bullhorn Betty took these to the police station for them to say, oh, good on her. Yeah, I want to go back to Mary Jane's comment for a second. So yeah, she couldn't look at her. That interview was wild. We had the two of her, and I couldn't see tears coming from either one of them, honestly. And Peter Hyatt did an analysis where he felt that Leilani had done a statement of admission, and I caught some flack for sharing that analysis, but I really believe in his talent as a true crime investigator. He's known nationally and internationally. And for those of you who don't know who Peter Hyatt is, he's a statement analyst. He has a channel here on YouTube. He's excellent. And he felt that he had discovered a embedded confession in Leilani, an embedded admission, not confession. Let me correct that. Peter Hyatt felt he had found a embedded admission in Leilani's statement. And if you haven't seen that video, I will link it for you when I'm done with this in the description below. But you guys will want to check that out. Is Jackie here says Billie Jo exhibits enabling behavior, generational. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Billie Jo has a little bit of a rap sheet also. And her oldest son is in jail. and now her daughter is. So yeah, definitely seems like it cycled from generation to generation. London, UK 70s. Peter Hyatt is fantastic. I agree. He is definitely an expert that I respect very much. Nurse Bev says, living under the same roof after he went, quote, missing, BJ and Leilani have had to have had conversations about Quinton and what happened. Maybe that's a great, that's a great comment, because let me put it back up. That's a great comment, because maybe they've had conversations, but maybe not, because it's very possible that they were under surveillance at that time. And I think that is why they went to Tybee Island, why they were at that motel, because why else would you go to a motel? Your grandson is missing. And if you look at Cindy Anthony and who's the mom of Casey Anthony, Cindy and George Anthony, they were out conducting searches for Kaylee. They had t-shirts made for Kaylee. They posted flyers for Kaylee. And then you contrast that with Billie Jo and Leilani going to a motel. And I do feel like they came up with a plan that they were going to try to muddy up the waters on this case. I do feel like they came up with a plan of what they were going to do. And they implemented it. So, anyway, if you haven't already subscribed to Reporter Room, please do give this a thumbs up, help me out with the YouTube algorithm. For those of you that are just joining us, Leilani Simon was arrested today. I am just looking to see if there's any new updates. Here is the latest information that I have for you as of this moment. Quinton was last seen at 6 a.m. in his playpen at his home on Buckholder Road. He was noticed missing around 9 a.m. and police were contacted by Leilani. The 911 call was never released. Police named Leilani as a suspect, and Billie Jo put it out on Facebook that Leilani admitted it but had no memory of it. We just don't know if Leilani admitted it to Billie Jo or if she admitted it to someone else. So I would love to know what you guys think about that. Do you think that she admitted it to someone else, or do you think that she admitted it to Billie Jo? What do you guys think? Put a 1 up if you think that she admitted it to Billie Jo, and put a 2 in the chat if you think that she admitted it to law enforcement, and law enforcement was who told Billie Jo what happened. What do you guys think? B. Rando is a channel member. Oh, wow. Thank you, B. Rando. Welcome to Reporter Room family. I'm so happy to have you as a channel member. We have such a nice group, and I'm going to be streaming live tomorrow, and I'm inviting channel members to come and be part of the panel. So I'll be posting that link. We're going live tomorrow at 5 p.m. Obviously, we will be covering this case in the live 5 p.m. Eastern time. And we will also be covering the Delphi case. DC has a 1. Mary Jane has a 1 and a 2. Brienne has a 1. Nurse Bev put up a 1. UK London 70s put up a 1. And Moon's a Balloon put up a 1 and a 2. Judy Galligan says, still wondering if Quinton was awake or sleeping when the boyfriend, Danny Youngkin, last saw him. We don't know. Obviously, I'm sure the law enforcement does know. I'm sure they do know. DC says, the boyfriend, Danny, was late to work. Just saying, yes, Danny Youngkin was 17 minutes late to work. However, law enforcement did rule him out. How they ruled him out, I do not know, but I do know that he rolled them up. We're getting some more 1s in the chat. Very interesting, guys, to see your responses to this. So I do want to thank our producers, Energy Shots and Joy Cowley. And thank you so much to our channel members. B. Rando, you will be added to this group for tomorrow's live stream. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.